Do you ever feel stuck? Like the situation you're in has no way out? Life can be hard at times. You hear people say there's always a light at the end of the tunnel, but sometimes that light seems faint, a long way off, or not even in sight. I love the great outdoors, countryside, mountains and beaches, and I especially love fishing. I grew up going fishing every weekend and I loved it. I was out in all weathers. At times the fishing was terrible and I still loved it. A few years ago I moved to the northeast of the US. The seasons here are incredible. The beaches are fantastic in the summer and the autumn leaves are stunning. However, winters are real. Temperatures plummet. Only a few weeks ago we had a snowstorm that was measured in feet instead of inches. As somebody who loves the great outdoors, winters can be harsh. Sure, appropriate winter clothing means some activities can continue. However, there's no laying on any beaches. And fishing stops with every lake and river hidden under thick ice. It can feel like Narnia from the C.S. Lewis books, never ending winter. Recently I was in my shed searching for a bag of rock salt to melt the ice on the steps in front of our home. I saw my fishing tackle, beach chairs and outdoor furniture. It all looked like a tease, like a distant memory from a bygone era. Did summer actually happen? And then I remembered something I'd read before. It's not always going to be like this. In the early pages of the Bible, there are a series of teachings where God directs people on how they should live. These passages are full of timeless wisdom. Things like, when you reap your harvest from your field, leave the edges for people that do not have as much as you. When you employ staff, pay them and treat them fairly. And when you're paid your wages, set aside a portion of your income for God's work and those in need. Here's the intriguing thing about these passages. They were all spoken at a time when the people had nothing. They didn't own land or farms of which to reap a harvest. They lived in tents, they were poor, they certainly couldn't afford to employ people to do things for them. And they had no regular income, no paycheck of which to decide how they would spend their money. They had nothing. These instructions were not intended to be a tease highlighting their lack. They were an encouragement for a future time, a better time when things would be different. It was as if God was leaning in and saying, it's not always going to be like this. It's not always going to be like this. It's not always going to be like this. You may feel stuck, like your current circumstances seem permanent, like there is no light at the end of the tunnel. Sure, my lack of being able to go fishing in winter is not a matter of life or death. For many of us, health concerns, relationships and financial uncertainty can weigh heavy. At times it can feel like there is no light at the end of any tunnel. But for those who believe, who trust in God, God journeys with you. He is close in all circumstances, the good and the truly terrible. And he leans in and says, it's not always going to be like this. It's not always going to be like this. It's not always going to be like this.